So a little bit about our presenter today. So Michael Lombard is a seasoned leader in healthcare performance improvement. He's currently the Director of Operational Excellence at an acute care hospital here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He's spent the past 4 years leading lean transformation in healthcare, and prior to that, worked for 7 years in manufacturing. Michael has an MBA from the University of Texas at Dallas and a bachelor's degree from the University of Florida. Michael and his wife, Mariana, who is actually a member of the Gemba Academy family, Mariana is, and I guess Michael is too, here doing a webinar with us, but they're expecting their first child, a daughter, in July. So that's pretty incredible. So congratulate Michael for that in the comments section. And well, with that, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of step to the side. I'll be back here at the end for Q&A, but I'm just going to kind of hand the microphone over to Michael and let him go at it. So here you go, Mike.
All right, thank you very much, Ron. It's a pleasure to be here with you, everybody, to share my lessons learned from practicing the Toyota Kata Approach. And as Ron indicated, yes, we are expecting our first child in July. And from what I'm told, because I started asking around, asking people, how do I know how to be a parent, and what kind of lessons learned can you share with me? And people just said, you know what, it's a learning by doing approach. You can read as many books as you want, but until you actually get out there and start learning by being a parent, then you're really not going to know what to do. And I think that's a pretty good analogy to the Toyota Kata Approach. It's definitely a learning by doing approach. And we've been doing it for about a year now at my hospital, so now it's time for us to kind of reflect back and share some of our lessons learned, and that's what we're going to do here with you today. Now, one thing that we are not going to do today is go into a full-fledged explanation of all the ins and outs of the Toyota Kata Approach. However, if you want that information, I highly recommend you contact the gentleman that's shown on the screen right here, Mr. Mike Rother from the University of Michigan. If you go to his website, which we'll link to in the show notes, there is a plethora of wonderful information, slide shares and PowerPoints and videos and downloadable tools, etc., that you can download that'll provide just a wonderful learning opportunity for you. And also highly recommend his great book, The Toyota Kata. And so I'm very early on in my kata learning journey, but we've definitely taken many steps forward and started to learn. And so I'll start with a quick overview of my understanding of the Toyota Kata Approach. Again, not at the level of detail that you'll find on Professor Rother's website, but hopefully it can help us level set before we jump into my lessons learned. So with that, I'll go ahead and provide a quick overview of the Toyota Kata Approach. So the first thing I want to point out is that there's two roles that you need to know with the Kata Approach, and it's learners and coaches. Those are the two primary roles. And the learner, in some improvement methodologies, that might be referred to as the facilitator of the process improvement effort, or as maybe a belt, green belt, black belt, a project manager, or whatever. We use the word terminology learner because it really is a learning journey. You're learning both about how to use the Kata Approach, and you're learning about whatever work process it is that you're actually trying to improve. And then the coach, of course, is there to guide and support the learner on their improvement journey. So that's the first concept I just want to point out, is that there's these two roles. Second concept is represented by this arrow that you see. And this is a mental model that we adopt when we start practicing the Toyota Kata Approach. And you're always kind of at the bottom of the arrow in the current condition, and you're always looking upwards, way off into the distance towards the ideal condition. Your true north, what would perfection look like? And you're always letting that guide you, but it's not specific enough to guide you in the short term. It provides more long-term direction. So we then work our way back from that and we say, what is the big challenge? Something that's maybe a year or two off in the distance that can provide a little bit more specific guidance for us. And this may be a key performance indicator that we really want to move the needle on, or perhaps it is a strategy that we want to deploy to give us a competitive advantage. And that's very useful in guiding our work, but it's not specific enough. So we keep working back from that, and we actually start thinking in terms of target conditions. And this is something that we can achieve in the short term, maybe in the next couple of months. And we actually want to know what it is that we're going to change about our process and what result that's going to give us and when we think we'll achieve that result by. Those are the elements of a target condition. So we're always thinking, what is the next target condition? What is the gap between our current and next target condition? And then we don't exactly have to know how to reach that target condition at the beginning of our process improvement effort, We just have to take comfort in the fact that through several cycles of iteration using the plan, do, check, act approach, that we'll be able to resolve whatever barriers pop up and we'll be able to meet our target condition on time. And so this is just a mental model. This is the way we look at continuous improvement, is step by step, target condition by target condition on the way to achieving our big challenges and all in alignment with our ideal condition or our true north. So those are a couple of concepts just to get us started to discuss the Toyota Kata approach. There's a couple more that we're going to get into, and it's the actual kata themselves. And the term kata is Japanese. It comes from martial arts, I believe, and it kind of loosely translates to a set of routines. And in martial arts, we use kata, we use these routines to build muscle memory so that the basics can be handled without you even having to think about it. It just becomes habit. And the same thing applies to the art of process improvement. We want to be able to do the basics routinely, have strong habits, and have strong muscle memory. And so we have two kata. The first one is what's shown here, which is the improvement kata. Now, I mentioned earlier the two roles, the learner and the coach. This is the kata that the learner performs. So there's 4 routines that go into the improvement kata. The first one is to see the direction. So this is looking off in the distance and understanding what our overall direction is, our true north, our big challenge that we're trying to achieve in the next year or two, etc. And then we use that to guide our study of the current condition, which is the second routine there. We're trying to grasp what's going on, the current condition, what are the current challenges, what are the root causes of our issues. And the insight that you gain from studying the current condition propels you to the third routine, which is to establish the next target condition. And again, this is what we're trying to achieve in the next couple of months or at the most maybe 3 months. And we start to see the gap there between current and target condition. And we don't exactly know, again, how we're going to get there at the beginning of our improvement efforts, but we know that through several cycles of PDSA, we will start moving toward the target condition, basically removing barriers one at a time in a scientific manner, accepting the fact that it might take several cycles of PDCA to remove a single barrier. But that's okay, because as we're performing more and more cycles of PDSA, we're building habits and building that muscle memory that we need to promote continuous improvement. So the improvement kata, to summarize, this is the approach that we take to delivering process improvement results and building PI habits. Now, while the learner is performing that routine, the coach is performing the coaching kata. And it just goes right along with the improvement kata. So while the learner is performing the first 3 steps of the improvement kata, which kind of make up the planning phase basically, the coach is providing instructing and coaching. And this is a great opportunity for the coach to kind of get a sense for where the learner's at in their skill level in terms of driving PI. And they can sprinkle in some just-in-time tools and techniques as appropriate. And it's done in the right amount so that you're not overloading the learner with tools that maybe they're not ready for. And they're helping the learner prevent getting to that analysis paralysis scenario where we're trying to analyze things too much and we're hesitant to take a step forward, while also preventing the learner from jumping to solutions and trying to draw too many conclusions and acting like they know what the answer is before they have really tested what they think their hypothesis is. So there's a lot of art to the coaching, especially during the planning phase. And then when you move into the execution phase, which is that last box, PDCA, toward the target condition, this is when the coach is doing a methodical routine that we call the 5 questions. And basically, if you can imagine a 15-minute coaching cycle where the learner comes in, it's just 2 people, the learner and the coach. And the coach is simply making sure that the learner is continuing to take daily steps forward toward the target condition and doing it in the proper way. And they ask the 5 questions to help promote that. And those 5 questions are, number 1, what is your target condition? In other words, what are you working on? Just remind me. And that should, in that target condition should stay the same. You shouldn't really change your target condition once it's set. You're kind of moving towards that relentlessly. The second question is, what is your current condition? And by asking that second question, you really highlight what the gap is. And that gap should be getting smaller after every cycle of PDCA, hopefully. And then the third question is, what obstacle is preventing you from reaching your target condition? And more specifically, what is the one obstacle that you need to address now? That's the third question. That fourth question is, now that we've identified the barrier, what are you going to do about it? So basically, what is your next cycle of PDCA? And what do you think is going to happen as a result of that cycle of PDCA? That's the fourth question. And then the fifth question is, when can we go and see what we've learned from taking that step? And so by the time you get done asking those 5 questions, it's very clear what the next cycle of PDCA is, what your hypothesis is, and you kind of have the next cycle already lined up in front of you. So that way you ensure that the learner keeps moving forward methodically. So that's just a quick overview of the Toyota Kata approach. Again, it's learners and coaches. You're always moving towards your ideal condition through a series of target conditions, using the improvement kata and the coaching kata to bring some method to the madness, so to speak.